Welcome back to Bookish Dives. For those of you who have joined us for a couple of dives now, well, you know how excited we get when we find a book that really truly delivers. Today, we're plunging into The Science of Effective Communication by Ian Tuhovsky. And our mission, our goal for this dive is basically to pull out the absolute best insights. You know, the stuff that helps you become a master conversationalist, how to maybe overcome some of that social awkwardness we all feel sometimes, and really reshape your life through better talk. This isn't just dry theory either.
No, not at all.
Tuhovsky packs it with, well, some surprising facts and genuinely actionable advice.
Right.
So our aim here is to give you a kind of shortcut, make you feel well-informed and, properly equipped for those real-world interactions. So let's kick off where Tuhovsky does, right at the heart of it. Why are great conversation skills not just nice, but actually life-changing? He makes a strong case right up front.
He really does. What Tuhovsky emphasizes is how deeply these skills are woven into almost everything we do. It's way beyond just chit-chat. He draws these direct lines, from strong communication to real tangible benefits. Things like better career prospects. Think about nailing job interviews or just collaborating more smoothly with your team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there are stronger business relationships. You could be brilliant technically, but if you can't connect, you might miss opportunities.
Yeah.
He also talks about seriously improved family relationships, being better at resolving conflicts, sharing your views without causing offense.
That's a big one for many people.
Huge. And maybe the most powerful bit, a real boost to self-esteem. He argues that better communication helps you ditch those what-ifs, wondering if things could have been different if you just said the right thing. It's about building a more confident, maybe more resilient version of yourself.
That connection is really powerful. But, when we talk communication, there are always these myths floating around. And Tuhovsky, he really tackles a couple head on, doesn't he? Especially that idea of the socially awkward genius.
Oh, absolutely. He directly challenges that whole pop culture thing, where being super smart means you have to be bad with people. Tuhovsky is clear. There's just no proven link between high IQ and poor social skills. He even points to someone like Einstein.
Right.
Widely seen as, incredibly brilliant, but apparently quite charming and socially adept. And the really crucial point he makes is that social skills are not fixed. They aren't innate.
That's huge.
It is. They are completely learnable. He gives examples, even talks about how people with conditions like Asperger's syndrome can learn to navigate social situations effectively through practice and specific training. It just highlights that improvement is possible for anyone, really, no matter where you're starting from.
And interestingly, this wasn't just academic for him. He shares his own story, right? Struggling with communication himself when he was younger.
Yeah, in his 20s, he felt like an outsider. And that feeling kind of pushed him onto this path of self-discovery, as he calls it. He just soaked everything up. Books, videos, seminars, trial and error, lots of mistakes probably, and eventually figured out what worked. Then he felt this need to share that, that hard-won knowledge, and that's where the book came from.
Okay, so if these skills are learnable, where does he say we should actually start? Because the first step seems almost too simple, but maybe deceptively hard, just listening.
He really focuses on what he calls the common trap. We listen, but mostly we're just waiting for our turn to talk, planning our response. We're not really listening to understand.
Guilty as charged, sometimes.
We all are. He cites Julian Treasure, a communication expert who found people spend something like 60% of their communication time listening, but only retain about 25%.
Wow, that low.
Shockingly low. And Treasure thinks our digital age is partly to blame. It's kind of made us lazy listeners. We're so used to being able to rewind or replay things, videos, podcasts. We subconsciously think we don't need to pay full attention the first time.
Huh. I never thought of it that way.
And then Tuhovsky draws this really important distinction. It's not just active listening, like grasping the facts. It's empathetic listening. That's about prioritizing the feelings behind the words. He uses this example of a friend talking about their divorce.
Okay.
Are you just clocking the details about lawyers and stuff? Or are you tuning into their pain, their fear, their hopes? That shift makes a massive difference in making someone feel truly heard.
That's a fundamental shift, isn't it? Hearing the facts versus feeling the meaning. And he gives some practical advice here, too. I like his idea about viewing every conversation partner as a potential teacher.
Yeah, that's a great mindset shift. It changes the whole dynamic from waiting to speak to genuine curiosity, like what can I actually learn here? And on the flip side, he's practical about when not to listen to, like people who are just incredibly repetitive. He basically says, look, sometimes it's not you, it's them. In those cases, you can either zone out a bit, gently try to shift the topic, or sometimes you just have to politely excuse yourself.
Okay.
The main point is about genuine attention. If you can't give it, maybe don't pretend.
Makes sense. Okay, so beyond listening, there's the voice itself. It's one of the first things people notice,
No.
judged in seconds. But Tuhovsky says you can actually improve your voice. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's quite empowering, actually. He lays out a whole set of practical exercises. Things like loosening your lips, simple exercises for clear pronunciation. Apparently, it can even help mask a lisp.
Really?
Yeah, and mastering diaphragmatic breathing from your belly for a richer, fuller voice, less wobble. He suggests simple things, too, like humming and singing. Just to develop pitch variation, avoid that dreaded monotone. Aiming for a deeper, maybe more authoritative tone over time. And he really digs into intonation, how stressing different words totally changes the meaning. Like his example, will you be home by midnight versus will you be home by midnight?
Completely different feel.
Totally. And finally, moving your voice forward. So forming words more on your lips, not back in your throat. Relaxing your jaw helps with that.
And he shares his own story about having a squeaky voice that makes it feel achievable.
Exactly. He talks about doing these exercises and eventually getting compliments. It shows it's not just for actors or singers.
Right.
He also touches on voice coaches. Politicians use them all the time, and those sort of scientifically observed differences in voice appeal between sexes. Higher pitch in women often signaling youth, lower in men suggesting dominance. Evolutionary stuff.
Fascinating. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. A big modern challenge,
Yeah.
technology, how it seems to be kind of ironically messing with our social skills. Tuhovsky talks about a digital detox.
It's a really compelling section. He points out how the internet kind of trains us for attention switching, makes sustained focus in a real conversation harder.
Yeah, I feel that.
Online, you don't have to think on your feet. You can craft the perfect reply over minutes, hours, even days. And it can foster this anything goes communication style. You say things online you'd maybe never say face-to-face because the immediate social consequences aren't there.
True. Anonymity or distance changes things.
Definitely. And maybe the biggest hit is the social comparison trap. Everyone's posting these polished highlight reels, and if that's all you see, it's so easy to feel like your own life doesn't measure up. Which, tanks your self-esteem.
So these downsides, what's his solution? Is it drastic? Go live in a cabin?
Not quite that drastic. But he does advocate for a digital detox. He shares his own experience. He felt isolated at first, like he was missing out. But then he had this realization, if he really cared about his friends, he could.
Yeah.
You
We'd actually see them.
Right. He called a friend, they met for coffee, and he felt instantly better, uplifted. His point is that face-to-face interaction forces clearer communication. You have to articulate your thoughts coherently right there and then. It builds richer relationships, and it cuts down on that envy because you see the real person, struggles included.
That really rings true. I did a weekend unplug once. Felt weird initially, then just better, more present. What about practical steps then?
He suggests things like using video calls more for long-distance chats rather than just text. And in the office, even with people nearby, maybe walk over and talk instead of firing off another email or IM when it makes sense. It's about exercising those real-time interaction muscles.
Good point. And speaking of muscles we need to exercise.
Yeah.
Dealing with that fear of judgment, it's almost universal, isn't it? That
Yeah.
fear could be really paralyzing.
Oh, absolutely. He tackles it directly. First, he acknowledges, people will judge, it's natural. The issue is letting that fear control you. He proposes this two-step approach. First, build genuine self-confidence.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True, but he breaks it down. Challenge negative self-talk. Develop new interests, gives you something real to talk about. Change what you can change, like becoming more informed on topics. And he specifically calls out fake it till you make it as ineffective. People can usually spot false confidence pretty quickly. Apparently within 60 seconds, it has to be authentic.
Okay, so build real confidence. What's step 2?
Step 2 is basically stop making everything about you. He's quite blunt. Worrying constantly about what others think is, it's a form of self-obsession. You're assuming you're the center of their world.
Ouch. But maybe true.
Maybe. And he reframes rejection. It happens for all sorts of reasons. It's not always a personal feeling. He shares a story about getting rejected for a date, but learning from it instead of letting it crush him. It's about perspective.
Shifting perspective. That leads nicely into empathy, which he calls the glue of relationships. How do we cultivate that?
He offers some clear signals. A big one is Avoid giving unsolicited advice. Just assume people will ask if they want it.
Good rule.
Practice expansive listening. Let them talk. Follow their train of thought without jumping in to judge or fix. He mentions Carl Rogers' idea of unconditional positive regard. Basically accepting the person as they are, setting your biases aside to truly hear them.
What about when someone shares something really difficult or shocking?
Acknowledge your own reaction, maybe say, wow, that sounds incredibly tough, but don't make your feelings the focus of their story. Keep the spotlight on them. And crucially, know when to bite your tongue. Resist the urge to immediately say, oh, that happened to me too. Even if it's well-intentioned, it can feel like you're hijacking their moment.
Right. And take care of yourself after those heavy conversations, too.
Absolutely. They can be draining. He also talks about the opposite problem, though. Interrupting.
Ah, yes, the chronic interrupter.
He gets into why we do it, wanting to agree, disagree, show off our knowledge, be witty, offer that advice again.
All the impulses.
All of them. He admits he used to be terrible for it until a friend gave him some tough love feedback. He even suggests a subtle hand signal with a friend if you're trying to break the habit. Ultimately, his philosophy is, discretion is the better part of valor. Not every single thought needs to be aired. He touches on gossip too, how it harms reputation, the importance of thinking about your motives before sharing something confidential. There's a story about a professor and his daughter that shows how easily assumptions can lead you astray.
Okay, so that groundwork, listening, voice, detoxing, managing fear, empathy, not interrupting, that's all crucial. Now let's get into some specific tools he offers, like the 4RD method.
Right. F4D. It's an acronym. Family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Tuhovsky presents it as the simple, elegant framework for finding common ground with pretty much anyone.
How does it work in practice?
For family, maybe mention your own or something general in the news about families, see if they pick it up. But be sensitive. Back off if they seem hesitant. Occupation, ask what they do, but then give a thoughtful response. Share something related, perhaps, rather than just firing questions. Let it flow. Recreation hobbies, totally fine to ask what they enjoy doing. If it's something you don't know, admit it. Show curiosity about why they love it, the feeling, not just the facts.
Okay. And dreams. That sounds a bit deep for small talk.
He suggests being subtle. Maybe link it to a hobby. Wow, you're so passionate about X. Have you ever dreamed of doing Y? Or share one of your own bucket list items first. The key across F4D, he says, is going beyond the surface. Ask about feelings, meaning, and importantly, keep it balanced. Share about yourself, too. Don't just interrogate them.
That makes sense. A good balanced approach. What about compliments? There's an art to that too, right?
Definitely. Effective compliments are, according to Tuhovsky, sincere, timely, specific, and usually better if focused on character or actions, not just looks.
Appearance compliments can be tricky.
Yeah, they can be fine, especially maybe in romantic contexts, but they can easily misfire or seem superficial if not handled well, complimenting effort, kindness, skill that often lands better. And here's a really interesting counterintuitive tip he gives. Compliment someone behind their back to someone else.
Really? Why?
Because it boosts the perceived sincerity massively. When the compliment gets back to the person, they know you weren't just trying to flatter them directly. Plus, it makes you look good, like a positive person.
Clever.
And another great practical tip, and a compliment with a question. You handled that situation so well. How did you stay so calm? It keeps the conversation going. Avoids that awkward pause after nice shoes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Complimenting leads to asking good questions. He stresses that too.
Big time. He talks about the difference between basic small talk questions and what researcher Arthur Aaron called closeness generating questions.
About what?
Things like, what's the greatest accomplishment of your life? Or what, if anything, is too serious to be joked about? Deeper stuff. But crucial point. If you ask those, you need to be willing to share something personal first. Build that trust, that reciprocity.
You can't just demand deep answers.
Exactly. For more factual questions, do your homework first, if possible. Ask one thing at a time. Be clear, direct. Avoid leading questions that suggest the answer you want. He also mentions using questions strategically to help someone change their mind, not by arguing, but by prompting them to reflect on their own views.
Subtle influence.
Very subtle. And a tiny language tip, asking can you instead of will you when asking a favor. Apparently, it taps into their sense of capability, makes them slightly more likely to say yes.
Interesting little psychological trick there. Okay, what about when things get heated? Arguments happen. How does Tuhovsky suggest managing them?
Key strategies here. First, try not to fear anger itself. See it as a signal, often temporary, that something needs addressing. When you're in it, be clear about your desired outcome. Are you trying to solve the problem or just win? Aim for solving.
Keep your cool.
Try to maintain a calm volume, even if they're shouting. And know when to just be quiet. If someone's really ranting, interrupting is usually pointless. Let them vent a bit, maybe.
Like letting a storm pass.
Kind of. And maybe the most important thing, stick to the current issue. Don't bring up that thing from 6 months ago. No stockpiling grievances. If they try to derail the conversation, ignore the irrelevant bits and calmly repeat your point about the actual issue.
What about insults?
Ignore minor ones if you can. Or ask clarifying questions like, did you intend for that to be offensive?
Huh.
Sometimes just calmly stating how it made you feel and setting a boundary works. And for apologies, if you're the one needing to give one, show you understand their perspective, give an explanation, not just an excuse, and don't demand they forgive you immediately.
That's solid advice for de-escalation. But what about persuasion? Actually getting someone to see your side.
He leans heavily on Robert Cialdini's principles here. Very powerful stuff.
Like what?
Okay, first, authority. People listen to experts. So, mention your qualifications or cite credible sources. Second, likability. Build rapport, show empathy. We tend to agree more with people we like. Simple, but true.
Makes sense.
Third, reciprocity. The idea of giving something first. A small concession, maybe even just a piece of information or help. It makes people feel slightly indebted, more open to your point later. And fourth, consensus or social proof. Showing that others agree or that lots of people are doing this taps into that herd instinct we all have.
So using those principles, how do you structure an argument?
He suggests start by stating why it's important, then clearly state your position. Back it up with credibility stats, examples, case studies, and crucially, acknowledge the counter-arguments. Show you've thought it through.
What about eye contact and persuasion?
It's nuanced. You want to seem assertive and confident, but not overly dominant or aggressive. Too much intense eye contact can actually make people defensive and cling harder to their own view.
Finding that balance. Okay, the book also covers specific scenarios, like phone calls tricky without seeing the person.
Yeah, he gives some good tips. Start by asking if it's a good time to talk. Maybe mention how long you expect the call to be. Respect their time. Compensate for the lack of body language with verbal cues. Say things like, ah, I see, or that's interesting. Use their name more often than you might in person creates connection.
And voicemails.
And with a bit of a cliffhanger. Hi, it's me. I have that information you wanted. Call me back when you get a chance.
Yeah.
Makes them more likely to call back promptly. He also mentions recording calls, potentially, for important stuff, obviously checking legality first and sending brief email summaries afterwards to confirm understanding.
Good practical stuff.
Yeah.
What about talking with non-native speakers? That's increasingly common.
Key things here. Keep your language simple and direct. Avoid slang, complex idioms, and filler words like and are, which can be extra confusing.
Right.
Use the active voice more than passive. Repeat key points, maybe rephrase them slightly. And here's a good one. Ask them to rephrase what you said in their own words to check understanding. Don't just ask, do you understand? Because people often just say yes.
Oh, that's far.
Be aware of cultural differences, too. They can play a role. And most importantly, be respectful. Take shared responsibility if there's a misunderstanding. Say, sorry, I wasn't clear, not, you didn't understand.
That's just the burden. Okay, another potentially tricky one, talking to authority figures, bosses, experts.
It can be intimidating. Tuhovsky says, first, assume they're open to conversation. Most are. Don't go in defensive. If you disagree, state your point respectfully and calmly. Good leaders often appreciate honest, thoughtful pushback. When getting feedback, listen non-defensively. Thank them. Say you'll work on it. Be aware of rhetorical questions. Sometimes they aren't actually looking for an answer, just thinking aloud or making a point. Don't feel obliged to jump in.
And if the anxiety is really bad.
He suggests maybe bringing a supportive colleague or HR rep to a difficult meeting, or even seeking professional help if it's a recurring intense fear. It can be linked to broader anxiety issues sometimes.
Good point. Okay, last big scenario, the job interview. Super high-stakes conversation.
Absolutely. And social skills are critical here. He advises maintaining a natural speaking pace, avoid rushing or slowing down too much, cut the ums and lahmers, control your intonation to sound confident, combine that confidence with real enthusiasm. He suggests listing why you can do the job, and then linking each point to why it genuinely inspires you.
Nice touch.
Stick to roughly a 60-second rule. For answers, be thorough but concise. Use both I statements, what you did, and we statements, how you collaborated. And don't forget the small talk. Chatting naturally with the interviewer, even the receptionist, shows your social fit.
What about those tough questions? Why this job? Weaknesses?
For why this job? Research the company values and connect your interests to them. For weaknesses, pick something relatively minor, ideally work-related, that you're actively improving. What can you bring? Talk skills plus the benefit to them. Where in 5 years, show ambition related to growth within that field or company. Salary expectations. Research the average range beforehand.
And always ask questions at the end.
Definitely. Ask thoughtful questions about the role, the team, training opportunities, shows you're engaged and serious. Less about benefits initially. Ultimately, he reminds us the interview is assessing your skills and your social fit within their culture. Communication is key to showing that.
Wow. Okay, so pulling all this together, you listening now really have a solid toolkit, thanks to Tuhovsky's insights, to seriously upgrade your conversations. This dive really underscores how much potential we all have to connect better.
Absolutely. And thinking bigger picture, it's not just about sounding smoother. Improving communication skills actually enhances how you think. Even small talk can boost problem-solving ability.
Yeah.
It strengthens your social safety net, gives you more support. It lowers stress in tricky situations like dealing with bureaucracy or just navigating a new place.
Yeah.
It even impacts parenting. Modeling good communication for your kids is huge.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Imagine if everyone, truly everyone, made a conscious effort to become a better conversationalist, using insights like these. What kind of ripple effects could that create in our communities or relationships, maybe even just our own sense of inner calm? The potential impact of communication feels, well, almost boundless. And this book offers a really clear path forward.
It really does.
So, what are you waiting for? Time to get out there and start practicing. We really hope you enjoyed this bookish dive. Make sure you follow us for more explorations of books that might just change your life. Until next time, keep learning and keep connecting.